That sound all right? Everybody okay this morning? First day back? Yes? Okay. Yes, okay, great. Look, the main thing really is that this is, before I introduce myself, I really want this to be conversational. I don't want it to be didactic where I'm just giving you information. I want us to have a conversation, interact with each other as well, all right? If we can do it that way and just make it really practical. So to start off, my name is, as it says there, it's Leethen Bartholomew. And as you can hear from my accent, I'm not from the UK. I'm from the second best country in the world, which is Trinidad and Tobago. All right. It comes second after heaven. All right. Okay. All right. And I went to Brunel 20 years ago. So it says something about my age, right? 20 years ago, I did a postgraduate certificate here. And then, at that time I was in frontline social work. So my background actually started off in probation as a probation officer and then went into social work and did that for a number of years, frontline social work, until I moved into an area that focused on the role was called a community partnership advisor. And we looked at issues across several different boroughs working on so-called honor-based abuse, forced marriage, female genital mutilation, abuse linked to faith and belief, what we're going to be discussing today, and private fostering, child trafficking. And the whole idea was that around how do we increase professionals' understanding, awareness, and skills around these topics, and to ensure that they support families well, they do really good assessments, but also engage with communities to raise awareness of it as a safeguarding concern. And that was around 2007. And did that for a number of years, so just over probably about 10 years. And then moved away from local authority, went into the charity sector and worked for an organization called the Social Care Institute for Excellence. And in that role, I did a number of things, but my main role there was as an auditor. So we used to go into the different dioceses in the Church of England and do a safeguarding audit of the organization, because you would hear in the news the abuse that happens in churches, whether it is the Church of England or the Catholic Church, but this one primarily focused on the Church of England, which was a remarkable experience. So looking at cases, just general safeguarding concerns, abuse, but also around spiritual abuse, how it was enmeshed with the life of the church. And then moved on to become the head of the National FGM Center, which is run by FGM, use an acronym, Female Genital Mutilation, in the UK, which is run by the charity that's called Bernardo's, which is the largest children's charity. Did that for a few years. And then left, and where I'm now, it's the Greater London Authority. Most people never have heard of the Greater London Authority, but the easiest way to explain it is that the Mayor of London has his Mayor's office. So the Greater London Authority is like the government for London. So we have different departments like Housing for Land, Community and Skills, and in my team we're responsible. So I manage a team that's responsible for children. So our unit is called Health, Children and Young Londoners, and I'm responsible for managing a team, just about 25 of us, anything in relation to children. So when we talk about child health, mental health and well-being, care leavers, childcare policy, early years policy, youth policy, so you think of it, it falls within our team, and is primarily looking at policy and programs, because the Mayor does fund a number of programs linked to his manifesto commitments to support young Londoners. So a good example is that in the last election, he said that he will support students' mental health and well-being, because we're facing a mental health crisis for adults and children. So he put funding to support a number of secondary schools to implement a whole school approach to supporting mental health and well-being. So that's just a quick run of my background and where I am now. Now, before I get you to introduce yourself, yes, question?
Just a quick question. Is the film being recorded as well?
It's all, you see that it's being recorded and it will be available.
Yep. All right. Before I get you to introduce yourself, just to say that the topic is very much dear to my heart. I spent My PhD was on this topic, primarily looking at witchcraft and spirit possession accusations against children. And I spent, apart from working on the issue, I spent 9 years of my life. It was supposed to be 6, but then the pandemic hit. Looking at, a number of I'll explain it a bit later on, but I was looking at a number of cases that was known to children's services and to the police, and also interviewing survivors, their siblings, and faith leaders and professionals as well. Right, so I'll stop here. I'll just get you to introduce yourself and just tell me your name, and that will suffice for now. Just tell me your name. So if we just start off, I know it's Chichi. I remember that for sure. Yes?
My name is Chichi.
Yes. Okay.
I'm in the final year.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm happy to see you for the presentation.
Okay.
And I think we're going to get wider knowledge
Yes.
from you today.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks, Chichi. Okay.
Hi, I'm Joel. I'm actually quite excited to hear this because I kind of wanted to do my dissertation on faith and how it.
Okay.
How it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
Hello, my name is Emmy. I'm hoping to just learn as much as I can.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks. You said Emmy.
Emmy.
Emmy. Okay. Rose.
Yes,
Okay,
my name
Rose.
is Rose. Good morning, and happy New Year. Yeah, I'm second year social work student.
Yeah.
My final year will finishing.
Yes.
And I'm glad. I'm looking forward to see what you're going to give us.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Charlotte. Thank you for the introduction. I come from a very similar kind of background to you, so it's very interesting this lecture.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
My name is Benjamin, and second year student as well.
Okay. Thanks. Next.
My name is Ifeanyi. I'm final year social student.
Okay. All right. Okay. Great. Are we expecting anyone, or this is?
There might be
Okay.
should be a few more people.
Okay. All right. So we can progress. So let's just quickly look at the learning objectives. So just to set the group considerations, just a bit of the ground rules. So it's how I started off. It's a learning culture. There's nothing like a silly question. We're having a conversation. All right. If I stop the conversation abruptly, it doesn't. I'm not being rude. I'm just conscious of the time, but I still want you to ask as much questions as possible. All right. It's just that we just need to move on. Everyone, I would expect everyone to participate. If you sit there and you're a bit quiet, I'm going to pick on you. All right. So you have to say something. That's the deal. Yes. Okay. Good. Respect. We have diverse views here, different perspectives. This topic it could be a bit romanticized, it could be a bit sensationalized as well. So it's really important for us to remember to be respectful. If I say anything you think that's inappropriate, challenge me on it, and I'm going to do the same to you, right? Because we're having a conversation, but we're doing it in a very respectful way. So it's about constructive criticism, confidentiality. The intention is that I will ask you some questions, but only share what you feel comfortable to share. All right. Remember that it's being recorded. That's one thing. And remember that your colleagues could also take it outside of the room as well. I'm not sure why my phone is beeping because it's supposed to be on silent. So give me a second. Let me just put it on airplane mode. Oh, no, it wasn't on silent. Sorry. Right. And it's about looking after yourself. I'll talk about that in the next slide. And mobile phones. Right. Sensitive topic. So as I said, so this topic could be a bit sensationalized or romanticized. We're going to be talking about abuse and neglect. We're going to be talking about something that for some people, it's really difficult to get your head around that these things happen and people believe in these things. We need to be respectful, but it could be a bit triggering if you've experienced something or if you know someone who would have experienced some form of abuse that's linked to this topic that we're going to talk about. Because anything that's associated, we find that anything that's associated with a belief system that's linked to God and its harm, it's really difficult for people to move on from it. And it could, and I don't want us to be placed in a situation where it could re-traumatize anyone. So it's really important for us to be aware of the language that we use. But if anything is that triggering and you need time off, feel free that you can step out of the room, all right? But it's not the intention to cause harm to anyone. We will get a break at the halfway point. So I would say we're here for 2.5 hours. So I'll give you a break at, it's now 10. So let's go for an hour and 15 minutes, and then you'll get a break. Okay? All right, good. Right. Okay, good. I want us to start off by doing a bit of an exercise. What I find with a topic like this, there are a number of words that we use that people, we have different understandings of it, or we have no understanding at all, and we think that we do understand it. So I just want to put you in probably in groups of, in a pair or groups of 3 or pairs, 2, 4, 6, 8 pairs. And I'm going to give you a copy of this. And I want you to match the word. So match the word with the definition. Okay? So you have about 10 minutes to do it. Let's say I'll give you 9. Let's say 9 minutes. All right?
So you can stop Tina. Yeah, you have to let it go. So it's either infinity or rest.
Does race exist?
Sorry?
Race. Does race exist? Is it actually a thing, race? Does it actually really exist?
No, not really.
Okay, so that should answer you. That should help you narrow it down to which one is race.
Race, that's the part that exists because if someone has to do so because of discrimination.
So which one out of these two is race? Well, that's up to you to answer now. I wouldn't give you the... Yeah? All right. Ready? Right, so let's start. Ready? Okay, good. Right, so the first one, what's the answer for the first one? So a group identity based on shared ancestry, language, history, or cultural traditions. What do you have? Ethnicity? Yep. Okay, so that's correct. Now, the second one is it's race, because it's the answer could give away there. Race doesn't exist. It's something that's socially constructed. All right? Similar to gender. Good. So we have everybody all right. Race. Second one? Okay. All right. All right. Don't forget no ChatGPT. All right. Okay. Next one. What do you have for the next one? Religion. Right, so it's an organized system of beliefs, practices related to sacred, divine, or spiritual. Next one, an idea or conviction that a person accepts as true. Values. No? Beliefs. Yeah? Next, shared customs, behaviors, values, language, and traditions of a group. Culture. Yeah, culture. Okay? Next one is values. So the core principles or standards that guide behavior and judgments. Okay? So what are some of your, quick question, what are some of the values that you live by? What are your core values? Punctuality. Good. I think his colleagues are looking at him with daggers. I can see it. Yes. So one more, what are some of your core values? Give me one thing that is respect. Yeah. Respect for others, yes. Treat others like how I would like to be treated. And honesty. Yeah. Okay. So when you look at someone's culture, you know, you go on holiday and you go somewhere and you eat the food, you dress like them, you hear the music. These things are just really on the surface that you can see. The main real thing about someone's culture is about their values and the norms by that they live by that guides their behavior. All right? Okay, so that's values. Next one, that's norms. So the informal rules or expectations that guide behavior. So what are some of the informal rules and expectations that you think that exist in your culture? So it's informal. Yeah. Give me an example. Give me an example. No. Yes.
In my country.
Yes.
Like greeting elders when we done.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, like greeting elders when we done.
Yeah. Right, okay. Next, it's prejudice. Oh,
I have an example.
yes.
Standing on the right of an escalator.
Standing on the right.
Standing on the right of an escalator. That's a norm. Everyone knows. In London, at least.
Okay, yeah, I suppose, yeah. It's a way, okay. And it's, well, is it actually, yes, it is informal, although you will see the sign that says to you that you have to stand. Yeah, there is a sign. Yeah, there is. You see it. There is a sign. Yeah. But, okay, I take that point because, yeah, okay.
Passing something to someone using a left hand, you don't do that.
That's an African now.
Okay. All right. But, and what's he thinking behind that?
Like the left hand is dirty or yeah.
Right. Okay. Next,
Shoes and things like that when you're going to people's homes.
that's just the rules in your house, right? That, okay. All right. Let's move on. So next one is a preconceived opinion or attitude towards a person or a group. That's prejudice. Yeah. And then unfair or unequal treatment of individuals or groups based on characteristics, for example, of race. Yeah. Okay. And then the final one is stereotype. So a stereotype is an oversimplified or fixed generalization about a group of people, often ignoring individual differences. Good? So who got 10 out of 10? 9? 8? Okay, all right. It's not a competition. It's just some fun. Did you think that it was easy to do, or was it difficult, or some things you think that overlap? It overlaps. You think they overlap? Okay, you think so as well? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Good. So let's just keep these definitions in mind as we go through the presentation. Okay. Right. So next slide. Just talk a bit about why faith and religion is really important, or belief is really important. When we look at the last census that was done in 2021, we know that there is a decline in the number of people who identify themselves as Christians. Now, with the census, we know that it's a snapshot of what exists at that point in time. So it could always change. It could always, it can go up, it can go down. But when we're thinking about the different religious groups, Christianity is still the main religion of the country, but the number of people who identify as Christians is declining. There is an increase in the number of people who identify themselves as having no religion. There is an increase of the number of people who consider themselves to be Muslim and also Hindu. So, for example, we can see that within the Hindu group, there was just over 800,000 people in the last census, which was before the last census, 2011, and that has moved up to, with Hindus, it's 1 million now. You can see with Muslims, it was originally in 2011, 2.7 million, now it's 3.9. So there's an increase in the other religious groups and also with people with no religion, and a decline in those who identify themselves as Christian. So regardless, if we follow mainstream religion or no religion at all, we all still have a belief system. So just because you're not Christian or you're not Muslim or you don't, or really, if you don't identify as having a religious belief, you do still have some form of belief systems and trying to understand the world. So when we talk about a belief system, you can have a life stance. It could be a religion, it could be a worldview, it could be a philosophy, or it could be an ideology. All right. And if you do have a religion or a belief system, or you have a faith, it does serve a purpose. We don't necessarily need to think about it in a pathological sense that it's negative and it's bad, it's associated with abuse. We do know having a belief system or having a faith could be something that's positive as well. All right, you get community from it. It helps you with a sense of belonging. When you think about yourself as that there's something greater than you that you can hope in and you can have faith in. It does help you with your well-being. It does help you to have a different view of this world, right? But for me, I think that sometimes what becomes a bit difficult is when you have your own belief system that is not part of a mainstream belief system, and it's very much made up in your mind or in a small group. And I'll explain that a bit later on when I think there's 2 more slides. So the question is, could you name a number of different faiths and belief systems that exist that you're aware of? So just throw it out. Say it again? Yeah, okay. Catholicism, yeah. Christianity, yes. Pentecostalism, yep, okay. Judaism, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Tell me ones that are not like mainstream religion. Give me some examples that are not mainstream religion. Which one? Ooh, never heard of that one. Go on.
It's like a mother is like a god with small letter G.
Yeah.
And people worship and they look up to for miracles, protection.
Right. Okay.
That's an Igbo culture.
In Igbo culture.
He's the before obviously Christianity came into the Igbo land.
Yes.
He was the person that everyone worshipped.
Right.
So he's like the strongest in Igbo. What do you call it? What's that word? There's a word that describes religion. It's like a philosophical methodology. In Igbo methodology, Amadioha is the strongest god. There's different gods
Yeah.
people pray for, but Amadioha is the strongest one.
I mean, you mean.
He answers prayers.
Ah, okay.
As we are told, as we read.
Right.
What about the traditional religion?
That is traditional religion.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Give me a bit more.
Shintoism.
All right. Okay.
And part of Nigeria, the west part of it, there's the one they call Shogo. It sounds like they are going to they do a kind of
God of Iron.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And where?
Before Christianity started
Yeah.
spreading, I think that's what they worship.
Yeah. In Trinidad. Sorry. Go on.
I'm going to just mention one that's very, very, still very current and is worshipped in quite a few places in the world. And that is the river goddess, Mami Water.
Mami Water. Yeah.
It's worshipped in quite a few places in the world.
Yeah.
Season fate and religions.
Yeah. Yes.
In Brazil, Africa,
Yeah. Yes.
in America as well.
Yeah. It's not. It's for many people. It's not associated with a good thing as well. I say for many people, Mami Water isn't associated with something that's good.
No,
Yeah.
some people call it Mami Water in Nigeria, obviously.
Yes.
In other places it's called other things, but it's the same. It's
Yeah.
that the river goddess is called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being yourself from Caribbean, is voodoo a religion or?
Well, yes. I mean, voodoo, I would say, has been misrepresented in the media. It's associated, when you hear it, it's associated with witchcraft. But in a country like Haiti, but the truth is, voodoo is actually a religion that exists here. But many people, when you hear the word voodoo, you think black magic and you think evil. But it's very obviously mystical as well. People go into, the trance-like state. They become possessed by gods. Your example, so for example, in Trinidad, where I'm from, we do have Shango. So we call it the Shango Baptists. And they're very much considered to be a group of people who are, and this is just go back years, and people say they're misrepresented as well. But they do invoke some of the gods that you mentioned. People say that you can go to a Shango Baptist and consult them, who will consult the gods and who can tell you stuff. Yep. Okay. Last point. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a bit. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's stop here. Okay. So this is just some examples. This is just some examples that exist. We can go on and on and on and on. All right. So these are the main world religions, and then you have philosophical systems, indigenous ones, and then you have non-religious belief systems. All right. So the main thing here is just to show you that you don't necessarily, you could have many belief systems at the same time. Someone could be Christian, but they also practice, let's say, belief in shamanism, for example. So it's just about thinking about the plurality of belief system that exists in totality, but just to try to understand that we may have multiple belief systems operating at the same time. So you're working with a family, you ask them what's their belief system, what's their faith, what's their religion, and they focus on one. It's being just being in tune to it and being inquisitive and asking that question, do you follow anything else? Anything else that's secondary to belief system or that runs in tandem at the same time? Okay? Right. Example. So we talk about we don't really like to use the word, and most people in academia now, don't like to use the word cults. So you have new religious movements, right? And there are many new religious movements out there. They go into the hundreds. So this is an example of 3, or a belief system, which is like Star or Indigo Children. So the survivalists or the preppers, associated with religious beliefs. It doesn't necessarily, it could be just a belief on its own without having a religious element of it onto it. But it's that whole idea that we need to prepare for the end world, the end times that we are living in. And so it's linked to people who have that belief that, yes, the world will come to an end eventually, there'll be the coming of the Lord, but we need to prepare for it. And everything is focused on the end times. So it's some people would describe it as being like a doomsday, that something bad is going to happen and we need to prepare. And then the order of the 9 angels. So it's a mixture. It started off in the 1970s, and it's a mixture of many different belief systems that come together in one. So we have, occultism, Satanism, and mysticism, and it's part of its belief and its practices. And then this one is separate, doesn't have a religious element to it, but it has that mystical belief that some children are considered to be star children, that they have a different aura, and they're very much misunderstood. So it could be, for example, in a classroom, they're not focused at all, they're not learning, they become very disruptive, and we attach a label to that. So we might say this child probably has ADHD or some other condition, when the truth is, these, according to the belief system, is that they're very much misunderstood. And these are children who are very much intelligent. They have a very old soul. They have, so there's a bit about, I won't go into details, you can check it out after. So their aura is different, and they're able to have, they have some form of powers that's available to them. So you could be working with a family, for example, and the parent is saying, look, my child is not, doesn't have a problem. They behave as if they're very like royalty, all right? They might have a long line waiting for lunch, and they will go to the front of the line, because I'm not like everyone else. But how do you actually start to work with a parent or work with a family that have a belief system that my child is an indigo child or a star child? How do you start to unpiece that and understand the belief system and whether it is this child is being harmed or not, or what support that can be provided? So the question now that I want to ask you, before I go after this slide, is how do we actually start to work with families like that? What are the type of questions that we need to ask them? Now, this slide it's about a research that was conducted a few years ago by, it was led by someone called Dr. Lisa Oakley. She's one of those, I think she's done quite a lot of research on spirituality and spiritual abuse that has happened within a religious context. And they wanted to find out what are professionals' understanding of faith and belief. So it was really an online survey. They asked a number of professionals, and these were the professionals that completed the survey. And what they found was that only 35% of the professionals that responded felt confident about being able to identify spiritual abuse or abuse linked to faith and belief. And there is a national action plan. So back in 2011, the government published a national action plan to support communities and professionals around abuse linked to faith and belief. And only 15% of professionals were aware that this action plan existed. and only 67% of professionals had ever requested training on faith and abuse. So what they were really trying to point out was that many professionals don't have an understanding of abuse linked to faith and belief. That's one. And two, they wouldn't be able to understand the indicators even if they saw it and didn't know how to respond. So the whole idea is that there is it is an issue for us as professionals, and especially for going out into the world of work and engaging with families where faith and belief is really important to some people's lives, but we aren't able to support them. And not only thinking about it as I said, in a negative way, but also thinking about it where it could be used as a source of strength and support for families. Right. So spiritual abuse. Let me ask you the question instead of showing you the slide. When we talk about spiritual abuse, what do you think what's the definition? What do you think it means when we hear that term spiritual abuse? Have you ever heard it before? Yes? Okay. Oh, yep.
Form of spiritual abuse can be like cults, churches.
Say that again?
Cultist churches. Cultist churches. So when I was in my undergrad studying, I noticed, or even before I went to uni,
Yeah.
I noticed that some of my friends that I went to secondary school with, like old friends, there was one point that they just stopped. It's like they became a zombie. They started going to this church.
Yeah.
And they even wanted me to. I even went one. I went to one of the services, and I realized that one, there was a lot of young people there. And growing up in a traditional Nigerian household, African household,
Yeah.
in Britain, for me it was weird that I could not see none of the elders who were the people that can go for advice.
Yeah.
I want to go for advice for someone who's 20.
But what was actually happening for you to think about it was about spiritual abuse?
The spiritual abuse part that was happening was
Yeah.
that these young people, these teenagers would go to this church and their whole life changed.
Yeah.
Everything, if you ask them, let's go out, I don't know, for example, let's go to the cinema.
Yeah.
I can't go because the pastor's telling me that I have to come every week.
Right.
School.
Okay.
Or I need to, and then once I got to uni, I started
Yeah.
seeing that people were giving all their student and finance to the church.
Right.
People were spending all their time at the church.
Okay.
People were saying things like, if my pastor doesn't accept the person I'm dating, then I'm not going to...
So it's a bit of controlling behavior, it's controlling all aspects of their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I was listening to the preacher about 2 days ago.
Could you hear? No. Could you just speak? Yes. Speak.
I was listening to the preacher,
Yes.
and he was saying that one man went to the pastor for counseling.
Yeah.
So, in between the counseling session,
Yeah.
the pastor said, I think I heard the voice of God telling me that you should give your account to me, transfer.
Oh, the money from her account to her.
That God is telling him.
Yes, to tell her that.
He has to bless him with this car. So, the woman being very naive, she left the car with the pastor.
She gave the car.
The car to
The car.
pastor.
Okay.
By the time she got home, the husband said, what happened to the car? Why didn't you come home? Oh, my pastor told me.
Yeah.
God said we should. So I think that should be spiritual abuse.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
maybe
All right. Yeah. Okay. Last.
What's the name of the church?
Oh no. Last point.
is that not spiritual abuse?
Let's look at the definition. Right? Yeah. Last point, and then
I think spiritual abuse would be kind of manipulation.
manipulation. Yeah.
It's controlling and manipulation
Yeah.
to follow what they want you to follow.
Yeah.
Like they control your mind, manipulate you.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, this one is going to happen. If you don't do this, this one is going to happen.
Okay.
Don't pay your tithe, you're going to hell.
Yeah. So it's about misusing scripture to control the person's behavior. Yep.
Recently, I read, I think on BBC, it's a news item, it was a church in London, where students were giving their kind of last money
Yeah.
to this church
Yeah.
Because they thought if they don't give it to the church or to God,
Yeah.
in that essence, then they are stealing from God.
Yeah, yeah. I think I know which one you're talking about. So just looking at the definition, so I'll just read it quickly. So spiritual abuse is a form of emotional and psychological abuse that occurs within a religious context or belief context. It is characterized by ongoing systematic pattern of coercive control. Leaders or individuals, they will misuse their position, manipulate scripture. It involves exploitation, enforced accountability, censorship, claim divine authority, like for example in your example, Chichi, and pressure others to conform. So the victims often experience isolation, which was your example with your friends, secrecy and silence, right? So I think that the example that you gave, Chichi, it does probably I would say that does fall within that category of spiritual abuse. So now just stop pausing here for a second. So when I started off, I said that this session comes with a health warning, all right? So it's just to be conscious that we will probably know someone or someone in this room would have probably experienced some form of spiritual abuse in some way. When you're reading a definition, it could now start to make people connect the dots that they never knew that existed. So it's just for us to pause for a while, just be mindful of that, be mindful of the language that we're going to be using going forward, all right? Good? All right, good. Okay, so how do you explore someone's faith or the belief system? What are the type of questions that you would want to ask? So a good example to start off with is, do you or your family have a faith or belief? Simple question to start off. Give me some other questions. What are some questions you would ask someone?
You want a question?
Say it again?
Do you want a question?
Yeah. So how would you do it?
Like what kind of, do you practice in a religion?
Okay, all right. So, okay, yep, so I'm Christian. Go on.
Are you practicing Christian?
Yes, yes, I am. So was it what I'll come to you just now. So what other so you just asked me, yeah. So what else you wanted? I said yes, I am.
So what church do you go to?
So I go up to a Pentecostal church.
How long have you been going to that church?
Oh my gosh, I've been going to that church 25 years now.
That's nice. Oh, that's nice. So you've got a good community. You've built a good community within that church. Then.
Not really, because I like to keep to myself. But I know a few people.
Oh, that's good then.
Because you just asked me if say.
I'll ask you.
So you just okay. So okay, yeah.
The question I would ask is, how do I say this? Do you feel like you have a special? How do you practice your religion? Because you can be a Christian but practice it differently.
Okay.
For example, me personally, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
I don't go to church. I don't believe in church. Personally, for me.
Right.
I see Christianity as my own personal relationship with God.
Right.
No one can teach me
Okay.
how to have a relationship with God. It's
Right.
within me. So
Okay.
that's how I practice Christianity.
Okay.
Another person
Right.
might tell me or might feel like, no, you're practicing it wrong.
Yeah.
I don't try to debate with them.
Yeah.
Or neither do I
But
engage.
yeah.
But I'll try to understand that. If I'm working with a service user now,
Yes.
I'll ask the questions, how do you practice whatever faith?
All right. So ask me questions. So yeah. So just before you ask me the question, so one question I would have wanted to know based on what you asked me is that I do practice my, how often do I go to church? Oh, you was going to ask a next question. Okay. So all right. So okay. So go on. Okay. So ask your question and then we go on to him.
So how often do you go to church?
Every Sunday. I do go every other Tuesday as well because we have like a men's group. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Do you work?
Yeah.
Sorry, do you go to work as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so after work you go, would that be after work on Tuesdays?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
So let me go to your colleague and then we come to you, Chief.
previously you said that you did not feel connected to the church.
Oh no, I didn't say I didn't feel connected. I just said that I just like to keep to myself really. So I only knew I've been going to the same church 25 years, but I only have like probably 4 or 5 people that I just really connected to.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask another question?
Yeah, go on.
So those 4 or 5 people you connected with,
Yeah.
do they also come to the sessions on Tuesdays?
No. Well, no.
So if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah, go on.
what are the sessions on Tuesdays for, and why do you go?
So it's just it's just a men's group, and it's just like reading Bible scripture, and then we discuss it. Yeah. Okay.
Just partially you have answered it, because I want to know how often do you study the Bible?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Not as often I would like, but I try to read it at least every day. Yeah. Oh, why is that good?
I want to know because, we Christians sometimes,
Yeah.
like for instance, there was a time I was trying to develop my inner spirit to know about the Bible.
Yeah.
So sometimes the pastor, the way they preach,
Yeah.
and when you go to for example, they will say tithe.
Yeah.
You have to pay a tithe, 1/10 of what
Yes.
you earn.
Yeah.
But I have touched some of the scripture in Deuteronomy, in Matthew.
Yeah.
They're saying different things.
Yeah.
What they're saying there, they say tithe is meant
Yeah.
for the church, like the pastor or the priest,
Yeah.
to distribute it for the poor and needy
Right.
and the widows in the church.
Yeah.
But the popular one the pastors preach is the one in Malachi chapter 3.
Right.
You should bring it into the church.
Right.
And when they take it to the church, I didn't see it happening, distributing it to
Right.
the poor and needy, like the Bible said in Deuteronomy and Matthew.
Okay.
I see that they're not practicing the one Matthew and Deuteronomy say
Yeah.
tithe is meant to share among the poor. and
Right.
needy. And
Okay.
it's-
I understand that. So 2 things. One is you said that when I answered the question, you said, well, that's good, right? Right? But that's really like a value judgment. So if I didn't do it and I'm a client of yours, what would you actually be thinking, the fact that I don't do it and I say that I'm a Christian? I'm not putting you on the spot, right? We're just learning from it. And then the second thing is that it's going back to all the different belief systems. So it's just trying to understand, even within, let's say, Christianity, people do have different beliefs about one thing. So you talk about tithing. So you talk about people use one group set of Christian texts in the Bible, and then another group use Malachi. So just helping us to understand that there are different thoughts and belief systems about one single thing within one religion. So when we're working with families, it's just not, we're most likely to go for confirmation of our belief system and just understanding that there are multiple belief systems out there. And your job is just really trying to understand it from their perspective and not making a value judgment about it. Yep. And then translating that to whatever it is the concern that you have about that family or that individual. So just to move on, I think whenever I stop, it's coming up here. So does your child or your children share the same faith or belief? How did the faith or belief impact your upbringing? I think that's a really important one, especially with families or individuals who grew up in a household where there's a high level of religiosity. So everything, all your life revolves around this religion or this belief system. And on piecing that, is there anything else about their background, their culture, and their faith that you think that's important to know? So you're asking that general open question. And can you tell me about some of the traditions your family participates in? And also, do you have any special celebrations or ceremonies? And then a final one to consider is there anything else about your background, your culture, or your belief system that you think that is important for us to know? So this is a good way how to break it down. So let's say you're allocated a case and you're working with a mother and a child who are both survivors of spiritual abuse. As a culturally competent worker, say social worker, what are some of the things you need to consider in relation to the following, and what skills do you need? So when you break it down, you're looking at all of these bullet points. So what are some of the things that you would want to know and you would want to understand when you're thinking about family structure, the upbringing, the child and this child, spirituality, religion, food? What's some of the things you would think about? Family structure.
Parents married.
Sorry?
Parents married.
Are the parents married? Okay, all right. So it's a mother and a child, but you'd want to find out before. Let's say if she's single here, was she married before? Does she have any plans on getting married? Does she have a partner? When you're thinking about the family structure, some people come from a family structure where the elders in the family have much more power over those who are lower down the pecking order. What's the power structure within the family structure? Who calls the shots?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I would find out. And surrounding family members.
Yeah.
Because of what you just described.
Yeah. So, for example, when I was growing up, it was I wouldn't say that I grew up in a very strong religious household, but Christianity was the belief system. But it didn't matter if I couldn't tell my parents no. If my mother said that I had to go to church, I had to go to church.
Yeah.
Even as an adult, I just had to go. There was no questions about it. I could go partying the night before, Sunday morning, 6 o'clock, I have to get up to go to church. Yeah, yeah, it was compulsory. It was compulsory.
Anything our parents said was
Yeah,
compulsory.
yeah. Right. Which says, so then when you talk about upbringing and life chances, let's say food. When you talk about food and religion and spirituality and belief systems, what are some of the questions that you would want to ask?
Veg or non-veg?
Say it again?
Veg or non-veg?
I didn't hear.
Vegetarian. Yeah, vegetarian.
Oh, vegetarian. Okay, yep. Okay, yeah. All right.
Sort of
Meat.
pork, a lot of religion don't eat pork.
Right. Okay. Okay. Good. Yes.
When you talked about, when you're asking about questions about food and everything, I would ask who provides,
Right.
who buys food at home. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, how do you get your food? Do you work?
Okay.
Kind of
So food is a very central thing, right? Food is really important. Probably in all cultures, we congregate around food. Food could be used as a thing of power and control as well. Yeah. So when we're thinking about it, when we're thinking about abuse and food and scapegoating, one good way to I shouldn't probably say good way, but one way to control someone is about restricting food. Yeah. Even outside of a religious context, we know, like in some cultures, women are not allowed to eat certain foods compared to men. Yeah? So within a religious context, it's about, so you're both right, vegetarian, do you eat meat or no meat? But how is food being used to either control someone or to strengthen someone? Or when you think about, I'll talk about it a bit later on, but if you believe someone is possessed, let's say by an evil spirit, you wouldn't want to feed someone, because the whole idea is that why would you want to feed something to strengthen it? So how is food used to control or to protect the individual from someone that they believe is harmful? Or the belief is that there's one thing that we all eat. Most of it, well, I'll say all, and that's salt. So if I want to harm someone in a spiritual context, people will see that they will put something in the salt, because you would all use salt in your food. Yeah? Or food as well is that, like, so for example, when I was growing up, and I'm talking a bit about myself a lot and here now, right? My grandmother would say, you don't eat food from strangers. Right? Sorry?
I didn't hear what you said.
My grandmother would say to me, don't eat food from strangers. Because the whole idea is that people can put stuff in food and they can harm you spiritually. Yeah? And some people live by that. They wouldn't go to fast food outlets because of that belief system around that. Yeah? Right. Okay. So I wouldn't go through all of this. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I know, but I was just going to talk about the relationships around sexuality. That's another very powerful control especially when it comes to spirituality.
Yeah.
So you find out the relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And it becomes really difficult when it's enmeshed with culture. Because sometimes people think that the belief system that they have that's linked to their religion has nothing to do with religion at all and is about the cultural context. So when it becomes very much conflated, and when you start to try to unpiece that to help them to understand it, it becomes very difficult because it's very much part of their identity. So yeah, so sexuality is one of those things I would say. Attitude to dirt or cleanliness. What would you want to know?
Anything that made them feel unclean.
Like, give me some examples. What?
I don't know how to put this, but if I offend you, excuse me, it's about, for example, women, menstruation, and food and sex.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And there's a lot of religious beliefs around around that. So those are some. Yeah. So you're right. Anything else?
Just like Benjamin just said now, like in my culture, my family members, the older generation men told me how, like, for example, the older generation of men would have lots of wives, and then and the reason being was for one, for children, and then also another thing was, if like let's say one was in a cycle, then that one that's in the cycle wouldn't cook for.
Right.
It would be the other one that's in the cycle.
Right. Okay. Because the whole idea of it being unclean, right? And you wouldn't want. Okay. Yeah.
Also in India, when they practice Hinduism,
yes.
Women are not supposed to go to temple in their menstrual cycle.
Right.
Because of the concept of impurity.
Yes.
Also, like, especially in that religion, men goes for like, religious stuff. So they take fasting and stuff for 40 plus days.
Yes.
So they can have sexual relationship with their own wives or any.
During that time.
They can't touch their own women.
Yeah. Because many religions or belief systems have this whole idea of dirt and cleanliness, and the whole idea of dirt was conceptualized by this anthropologist called Mary Douglas, and she came up with this. What she said is that as humans we try to make sense of the world, right? And we try to make sense of the world through this whole idea around pollution. So if you go into a room and you wipe your hand on the desk and there's dirt here, the first thing that you'll want to do is to clean it, to wipe it out. But so what she's saying is that in our quest to understand purity, there's much dirt or uncleanliness that comes up. And so the whole idea is that once we encounter dirt in our lives, and it doesn't necessarily mean physical dirt, it could be, the menstrual cycle, it could be all these different things, we have a need to cleanse this world. We have a need to get rid of it. And there are certain groups, so for example, when we're thinking about people who we believe who are witches or possessed by an evil spirit, that it's not a good thing. They're considered to be dirt. We need to get rid of them, and we need to remove them, because it's our quest for purity in our lives. So going into this whole idea now of witchcraft and spirit possession, we're not talking about it in a good sense here. We're not talking about someone who's considered to be like a witch and who is linked to Wicca, where the belief is that you're using your powers to do something that's positive. We're talking about it in a pathological sense. All right? We're not talking about possession in the Christian context when we talk about someone being possessed by the Holy Spirit, or like in shamanism, going into the spirit world, encountering the spirits, the shaman, in order for her to seek healing or to seek something that's positive. We don't mean it in a good sense here. All right?
But it does happen.
Sorry?
You said you don't mean it in that way.
Yeah.
Not.
Oh no,
not.
But it does happen.
No. Sorry. Wait. So it's not. I'm not. I didn't see. No, I didn't see that. Because for you have to remember, for you, even if it's not about you, it's not about your belief system. It's not about you thinking that it happens or it doesn't happen. Right? It's about the service user that you're working with.
Can I get something?
Yes. Yes.
Said mostly in the New Testament.
Yeah.
Where we say God has given us the power to cast out demons.
Yeah.
In someone.
Yeah.
So does it mean when you talk about witchcraft and spirit?
Yeah.
Does it mean it does happen?
Right. Okay. So let's
So that's what I'm trying to.
trying to understand. Everybody okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question is that
Accusations of
that there is religious. The question is there's religious text that says that spirit possession does happen, and God has given some people the ability, the spiritual ability, to be able to cast out demons. Right. So you're working with someone. So you're working with a family member, with a family, whether it is an adult or a child, and they believe that they're possessed by, let's say, by an evil spirit. Good? You have to go in there to do an assessment. But you believe that these things can happen, but you're working within a system where it's not about your belief system. It's about how does that belief in that family, what are they going to do about it? Are they going to seek spiritual advice? Are they then themselves going to do something themselves to get rid of the evil spirit? What's the impact of that belief system on that child or that adult who's at risk? That's the approach that you have to take. But having said that, you can find yourself in a situation where you have that belief system and then it invokes fear in you. Because if I believe that this person is possessed and then I'm going to meet with them, or I believe that they're a witch, and I think that this interaction is going to affect me, because I could then become possessed, I can go home and, that it can affect my child, it can affect my other family members. How does that affect my ability to undertake a really good assessment, or just to assess that risk towards that individual? Yep. So let's hold it there. We will answer that a bit more in the presentation, all right? Yeah. But the main message is that it's not about our belief system, even though that our belief system, we know that it will have an impact on our interactions with the individual, and it will influence the outcome of our assessment. But the main thing is about the service user, the child, or the young person, or the adult that we're working with. Okay. Right. So quiz. Only share what you feel comfortable sharing. Okay? All right. How would you react if you broke a mirror? Would you think it's 7 years of good luck, 7 years of bad luck, or you'll just pick up the mirror, throw it out, but keep the larger piece that you can look in your face?
Pack it up and straight in the bin.
Pack it up and throw it in the bin.
Straight into the bin.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
Without a torch.
Do you think it was good luck? Do you think it's bad luck?
I wouldn't even have a thought about it.
You wouldn't have a thought about it? No? You think it's a mistake? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Next question. If a black cat crossed your path, what would you do? You don't like cats. Why?
Depends. If it's a cute one, I'll pet it.
Right. Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
If it's very cute, I'll pet it. If it's not, I'll just wish it to go away.
Okay. You have to share that, Benjamin. Benjamin, you have to share that. What is it?
He saw me testing somebody, and I used the word beautiful. So I said, oh, where are you beautiful? And he can't stop thinking about it.
Okay.
Benjamin.
Okay.
This is 2026.
All right. What are black cats associated with?
Evil, witchcraft.
Yeah. Yeah. And many people many cultures have a belief system with black cats, right? There's no good thing, it's associated with. Sorry. Yeah. It's associated with witches. If a black cat crosses your path, it's not a good thing at all. You'll probably think that you will experience bad luck. Yep. You had a black cat. Okay. And you know the RSPCA says it's out of cats, it's black cats are the ones who get abandoned the most. Yeah, here in the UK. Yeah. So do you believe that people can see and communicate with the dead? Yep, you do? In their dreams? Okay. It depends. It depends on what? Sorry.
Each to his own.
I don't know, it depends how they say and how it's come across. They're like talking and then seeing with them.
But
they're like praying to their loved ones.
But are they actually do you believe that they're actually communicating with them? They actually, if you dream.
No, not talking back, but like speak to them.
Yeah.
Like when you visit your loved one, like the gravesite, you're speaking to them.
No, communicate. You have yes, you can speak to them, but are they communicating? Are they talking to you? Are they telling you stuff? No. No. So that's what the question means. Communicate. Could they, is there communication between you and them?
But love to see in the films though.
Sorry?
Love to see the films, you know.
The films.
Yeah.
Okay. Where that happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
In films.
Okay. Yes.
In the dream, when you talk about communicating with dead people, sometimes it does happen in dreams.
It happened in dreams.
Yes.
Okay. But do you actually think is it?
Because my late father, 4 years ago, he died. Sometimes I see him in my dream. I will be, the way I behave in physical, when you see me interact with them, when I was, oh my God, that was in the dream.
Right.
But in physical, I haven't seen it. I don't know how that works.
Okay. All right. Okay. Last question. Do you have any items of clothing that make you feel lucky or gives you luck?
If you have one, give it out, please. We'd like to borrow it.
Say it again.
There's no clothing that makes me feel lucky, but the clothing that just make me feel good.
Yeah.
Associated with like a certain period of my life.
Right.
Time of my life,
Right.
It's like a certain smell.
Yeah.
This smell from limbs. When I smell it, I remember the 6th Street. I remember
Okay. 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 Yes.
Usually my mom never encourages wearing black into like any good occasions.
Right.
Like
Yes.
She has this thought of like it's only into the
To-
be more and like.
Do you wear black? Yeah.
I love wearing black.
Yeah. In many cultures are associated with different things, and black is considered to be, a bad. Well, I suppose that the main thing really is the main thing really you have to remember is not about us understanding if these things happen or not. It's about what does it actually mean for the individual who holds this belief system. So let's say you're working. Many people have these different belief systems that exist here. All right. Let's say, for example, some people would have a horseshoe above their front door. They would wear a rabbit's claws around their neck. They would wear religious paraphernalia like an amulet or let's say a cross because it has some form of meaning, some form of protection to them. And it doesn't only mean protection; it could be something that's bad as well. So, as I said, so you break a mirror, some people honestly believe that it will bring them 7 years of bad luck or good luck. Certain animals are associated with the occult. You just don't engage with them. So owls or black cats or snakes. Some people keep these things as a pet. And because they're associated with the occult, people have perceptions of that individual. Because why would you want to associate with things like that? Communicating with the dead. Some people believe that yes, they can communicate with the dead. There are people who are adept in skills that they could go to, they can consult, and they will tell them. I'm not saying that it's true or false, but for that individual is trying to understand what does it actually mean for them in their life. How does it control them? How do they, if they believe it's something that's not good, how do they overcome it? Who do they go to and consult? Is it an elder? Is it a religious leader? Is it someone else? Right? So it's trying to understand what is the meaning of these things for people in their lives and how does it influence them in their daily life. That's the main thing. Yeah? Okay. But having said that, as I said, what you believe would have an impact as well. And we'll come to that. Right. Okay. So let's look at some of the definition of these things. Now, I said a bit earlier on that there is a national action plan on abuse linked to faith and belief, and then it's very much outdated though. It's 2011. There's a group that's considering bringing out a new version of it, but within this document, it does mention what we believe by child abuse linked to faith and belief. So it gives some examples. So it talks about witchcraft, spirit possession, being possessed by the devil or demons, evil eye, jinns, which is within an Islamic context that believe that these evil spirits were created from fire. They're not considered to live in the spiritual world. They're not considered to be good beings, but they live normal lives like you and I. They marry, they have family, they have children in that spiritual realm, but they're not considered to be a good entity. But some people are very much adept in being able to harness the power of a jinn to do evil. So it's not considered to be a good thing. So just quickly, I wouldn't go through all of these, but just looking at the definition of spirit possession, witchcraft, and ritualistic ritual abuse. Now, so the National Police Chiefs Council last year came up with a definition. So it says here that witchcraft, could be a child or adult, is someone who's able to use evil forces to harm others. So they have the innate ability to be able to, they don't have to do any rituals, they just have that innate ability to be able to cause harm to others. So the idea is that, let's say, with some of the belief system is they go into the spiritual realm. So we live here in the physical realm, in this space here, but there's also, the belief is there is a spiritual realm where entities exist, whether it is evil spirits or demons, and that's where they exist. But they have the ability to interact with us here in the physical world. Now, the belief is that if someone is a witch, they can go into that spiritual realm and they can then cause all manner of harm to someone that they want to target. So they could be blamed for famine, for death, for your financial problems, why your partner isn't listening to you or rude. So it's never about me. It's about something else or someone else that's causing harm to me, right? Then there is spirit possession. So this is where that people believe that evil spirits or jinns or demons, they can possess the individual. So someone could be possessed, their spirit becomes suppressed, and they're now being occupied by something that's evil, and it's not a good thing. All right, so that's what we mean by the spirit possession. Now, and then when we talk about ritual practices or ritualistic abuse, so it's, as it says here, it's very structured, and it's symbolic acts of violence believed to use supernatural beliefs. So a ritual, when we talk about a ritual attack, it can be someone who, a good example would be torso in the Thames. Remember that case? Yeah. Probably about over 20 years ago. Yeah. And it was a boy, I think they said he was about 5 years, and his torso was found in the Thames. Yeah. And the idea is that when they looked at the stomach contents, they were able to place it to a certain area in Nigeria. So they thought that he was brought over here, and they used his body parts in a ritual, and because certain body parts are associated with certain things. So you're using the hand is supposed to give, it's supposed to provide wealth. So you can use the hand in whatever ritual it is to gain some form of benefit. Now, when we talk about ritual attacks or multi-murders, multi-murders, is that idea as well that same thing, and there are certain groups that are associated with being able to if you use their body parts to gain wealth. So for example, people with albinism. So in many cultures, albinism is considered not to be a good thing. In some it's considered to be a good thing, but in some it's not a good thing. And the belief is that people with albinism, you can use their body parts in certain forms of rituals. And let's say if you're a businessman or a politician and you want to win your election or you want to be wealthy, you go to someone that's, trying to use the correct word here, let's say a witch doctor, all right? And the idea is that you can consult them, they use the body part in whatever ritual, and it's supposed to gain you some form of benefit. Yeah? Now, when we're talking about, let's say, just to give you a bit more examples of witchcraft. So believing that a child is, let's say a child is possessed by an evil spirit. So as I said, it includes being able to fly. So you go into, the belief is that this, let's say this child at night, they go into the spiritual realm and they're able to fly from in the spiritual realm from here to, let's say, to Greenland. All right? And in Greenland, they're able to cause all manner of harm or to attack whoever it is that they've been sent to attack. So there's also belief there's bilocation as well. So they could be in two places at the same time. So they could be here in London, but they will be in Greenland as well, or in another country, or in another part of the UK. And then another belief system as well is that they have the ability, as I said, to kill someone. So, and they can eat someone. So, you know, some people, when they're sleeping, they grind their teeth. Yeah? So the interpretation of that is that they're grinding their teeth because they're actually eating someone in the spiritual realm. Yeah? And that can cause, that in itself means that I then need to be able to protect myself from this child or this adult who I believe that's a witch, because I'm interpreting their behavior according to my belief system, and it's considered to be something that's not good. So anything that's considered to be not normal, we try to understand to make sense of it. And if I'm using my belief system where I believe in these things, that these things can happen, I am going to respond in a certain way. Yes? Right. So what time is it? Okay, so let's stop now before we go in any further. So you're going to hear my voice talking a bit more before we get on to the next exercise, all right? Because I just need to run through some slides with you. So to begin with, anyone remember Victoria Kalimbe? Shake of heads. All right, so this is a case that really brought this issue to the fore, where we know that Victoria was believed to be possessed by an evil spirit by her great aunt, who was her carer, and her great aunt's partner. So she was in a private fostering arrangement. So and we know the outcome of her, of what happened with regard to the belief system. We know that Victoria. You want to hold it for a second?
Okay.
Yeah. We know that there was an inquiry that didn't really look at the belief system, but look at how the child protection system operated at the time, and there were quite a number of feelings that led to changes in the child protection system. Ask your question quick, Benjamin.
I was just going to ask if you can give us a brief introduction of the case, because what I think is, or what I know, that she was brought from Cote d'Ivoire,
yes,
Ivory Coast,
yes,
and her death,
yes,
led to the Children's Act,
2004,
Everybody matters or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted.
Yeah, you sound like you know about it already, Benjamin. But yeah, but you're right. Yes, so she was 8-year-old from Ivory Coast, went to France, lived there for a while with her great aunt, then came to the UK, was not in education at all. It was seen as a housing issue. A number of local authorities were involved in the case. One is, the last local authority was Haringey. So it involved the local authority, the police, health, NSPCC, the church as well, because the aunt believes she was possessed by evil spirit, took her to different churches. The last one was the UCKG church, which is in Finsbury Park in London, and to seek that medical help. And the person who really, towards the end, identified that something was wrong was the taxi driver, and took her to get that the medical attention. And her death did obviously lead to the lambing inquiry that made it, and then the outcome of that report, the inquiry report, led to the changes in the Children's Act 2004, which is really about strengthening the child protection system, as opposed to looking at the belief system and how it operated. Well, I mean, they did touch on that, but the outcome less focus on regulation of religious organizations, for example. Yeah? But just the whole belief system, Victoria's death really led to for professionals to be aware of the belief around witchcraft and spirit possession and how it can be a child protection, how it is a child protection concern. Right. Another case, Eunice Spree, foster carer, cared for 3 children. There's a book that was written by one of the children. Well, she wrote it as an adult. There was a documentary as well. I would say, watch it. Jehovah's Witness, and believe that the children were possessed. Traumatic experiences. I think one of the children, as an adult, ended her life as well because of the ongoing trauma that she experienced. Then we know that children who are LGBTQI+, the belief system is that their sexuality is considered to be something that's deviant. It's not, of God, and they're taken through conversion therapy. So there is an inquiry, the ICSA inquiry, the inquiry into child sexual abuse that was led by Alexi J. Delve into conversion therapy that happens within a religious context and the abuse that they experience. Okay? Because some people believe that they're either a witch or they're possessed by an evil spirit, and then they will have to go through that conversion or cleansing process. So it did feature in the inquiry. But what really kicked it off following Victoria's death is that there were a number of other cases. So we talk about the torso that was found in the Thames and a child that's known to Hackney Council that's called Child B. And there were a few other cases that led to the then government to commission a report into abuse linked to faith and belief. So it's the Eleanor Stobart report. It's all over the internet. You will get this presentation anyway, but you can have a read of it. It's not a very lengthy report. And so it was conducted in 2006, and she reviewed 38 cases involving 47 children. And common features of these cases, children who had a disability, who had an illness, so it could be a physical illness, challenging behavior, sleepwalking, bedwetting, bad dreams. So it's anything that's considered to be not normal, right? And going back to what I said, if you have a child or there's an adult, let's say with mental health needs, and you believe that it's not normal, because these things are not normal, you view that what is supposed to be normal through whatever your belief system, like a religious lens, and you think that it's possession or they're possessed by a witch or there's someone that's doing something to my child or doing something to me that's causing this to happen, I'm going to want to seek spiritual help. So some people will only seek spiritual help. Some people may believe that, yes, that I can seek spiritual help, but I can also go to the doctor and take my medication as well. Or some people don't have that belief. It has nothing to do with a spiritual context or my belief system, but I believe that I can get medical treatment for it, right? So the idea is that one of the ways of thinking this, as I said, is that behind every what, there's a who. Behind every what is happening in my life. Why do I have financial problems? Why is my wife listening to me? Why are my children rude? And it's not my problem. It's not because I'm a bad husband or I'm not a good parent. I treat my children pretty badly. I'm abusive. There's something else out there that's causing this to happen. So I'm going to think that it's a spiritual problem, that it could be someone that's doing this thing to me, right? Or some people believe that, yes, that I can believe that, yes, I have a health problem, and I believe that, this health problem, I can go to the doctor and I can get help for it. But why is it happening to me and not you? Right? So I will seek medical attention, but I'm still trying to find out a deeper meaning of why this is happening, why this misfortune is happening to me or not you. Good? Right. So going back to Eleanor Stobart report, this is just a breakdown of the type of harm that these children have experienced. So the burning, the cutting, the semi-strangulation. Now, there's a method to this. Why would you want to cut someone? Why would you want to semi-strangle that child? Why would you want to starve them? So going back to food, as I said, why would you want to feed someone that you believe is possessed or a witch? You would want to strengthen them, so you would starve them. The semi-strangulation is that you want to fool that evil spirit in that person, so you strangle them to the point of near death, thinking that the evil spirit will then leave their body. All right? You will cut them because you need to create an opening for that evil spirit to leave that individual. So, or you cut them to use whatever concoction or ointment or whatever it is to put inside of that person, so you can get rid of whatever evil in them. So there's a method. Sorry. Yeah.
I was asking cutting, then why?
Yeah. I mean, you know, like for example, in some cultures they will cut someone's face, right? But they cut the face if that child is sick, and they put whatever ointment in there as a way of entry to cure them. But some people will, let's say, cut the stomach or some other part of the body to create an opening. So have you ever heard of hijama? So cupping, where you heat this cup and you put it on your skin. You know, a lot of athletes started to use it at one point in time, right? Yeah. But with hijama, you lightly cut the skin with a razor blade, and then you take that heated cup that creates a suction, and it draws out the bad blood. All right? It draws out blood. Now, people believe that hijama could be used to remove a jinn that's possessing a person. And there have been a few cases, probably about 2 or 3 cases that I'm aware of, that made it into the news, where the parent believed that the child was possessed by a jinn and took them to a hijama practitioner, and where they did the hijama on them to remove. And that's considered to be, it's actual bodily harm or common assault. It's an offense. But even before you get to doing something like that, the question is, if a child or a parent says the child is possessed by an evil spirit, do you think it's a child protection concern? Or do you think it's just a spiritual issue that should be dealt with spiritually? Child protection. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing your collective faces and I'm seeing uncertainty. So one person said child protection. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? You agree? What if it's an adult then? No. So an adult is saying, no, hold that question. That's actually a case study. Hold that. Okay. All right. Okay. Right. So when we look at the number of cases, yes.
Sorry, just the previous slide.
Yeah.
What's that?
Okay, so they were, like Victoria was sleeping in the bath. It make them sleep in the bath. And
Why? She didn't have a bed, or?
Well, the whole idea, they said that she was wetting herself. She had enuresis. She was bedwetting. But it's really about cruelty as well, right? Why would you want them to sleep in a bed and have comfort? Put them in a bath. I mean, in water as well is very significant in many cultures about cleansing. Just going back to the whole concept of dirt. And where some people will go to a river to do whatever ritual or go to the sea, they really can't go to the Thames. Yeah, sorry?
Maybe spiritual bath.
Yeah, yes. So you do your spiritual bath in yeah. So whether it is a faith leader or, let's say, quote unquote, I don't like the term, but let's quote unquote witch doctor, they do spiritual baths. Yeah? Right. Cases. So just to show you, so every year local authorities must submit data to the Department for Education, and there's a category of data that's called abuse linked to faith and belief. So in the previous slide where we talk about witchcraft, spirit possession, darkini, jinns, there are cases that are referred to the local authority, and the local authority has to do an assessment where they think there is either a concern, whether it is child in need or child protection. And at the end of the financial year, they send this data to the DFE. So by local authority, you can see the number of cases that they have worked on for the different categories, whether it is like child trafficking or domestic abuse. And there is actually a category. So every year since 2016-17, they have captured data in England on the number of cases. So far, since then, we have had 17,590 cases under that broad category of child abuse linked to faith and belief. So it's just not only spirit possession and witchcraft. Yep. Yes.
I was wondering about, why is it so high, like last year and the previous year? Because obviously more knowledge is
Possibly, yeah, it could be that.
As he's got all this more knowledge, like computers, books, that's why it's so hard.
Well, it's about awareness as well, right? Because it's the number of cases that come to the attention of the local authority. So depending on professionals or even parents or family members or anyone in the community referring a case to the local authority. So it could be increase in knowledge and understanding of the issue or the harm that's caused to a child that's then being referred. But it doesn't necessarily mean that something, it's just a referral why they're doing this assessment. Yeah?
When I look at that, I just think about, what about all the cases that we don't even know about?
Yeah. Definitely. Right. So this was a Hackney case. This is what triggered it for me to want to do a PhD on the topic. So I worked in Hackney at the time, and this was a 4-year-old girl who was murdered by her mom. It's pretty gruesome what happened to her. I won't go into details, this child, but her sister came home from school and found her sister's body. And that's what gave me the idea that we focus on the child as accused, but we don't think about what's the impact of that accusation on the siblings. So just imagine this, I think she was 14 at the time, coming home, finding her sister's body because the mom, who over a very short period of time, over a 2-week period, became psychotic and thought her child was possessed by a jinn and murdered her. It didn't hit the criteria to do, at that time, it was called a serious case review, now it's called a safeguarding practice review. It didn't hit the markers for that, but the safeguarding board decided to still review the case. And so someone came in that was independently reviewed them, and I supported them with it. So we did a number of joint interviews with professionals. I never actually met the sisters, but we spoke to the family therapist who was involved in the case. And the point I'm really trying to make is that we always need to think about the family, thinking about other children within the household. So it's not only about the child that's been accused, but also thinking about all the other family members and the non-accused child, because they're also impacted by the accusation. Yeah? Right. And this is an example, an excerpt from my thesis.
Sorry, can I just ask about this case?
Yes.
This seems like someone who's really mentally unwell. And her interpretation of her faith or this kind of, it seems
extreme.
Very extreme.
Yeah.
So is it actually just, is it
mental health?
It's just a mental health thing, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about it. So it's difficult to know, right? Did she have this belief system before she became psychotic, or did it, or which we were never able to understand, to find out, or was it exacerbated by, in a very short period of time, over a 2-week period, she became psychotic, and then she went on to.
But surely there is some kind of organized belief system, maybe that she's talking about. People who believe in jinn, I've never heard of them sacrificing children for.
There are people who believe in jinn possession who don't have a mental illness, who do go on to harm their child.
Harm the child, yes,
yes.
But not sacrifice them.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say they go on to sacrifice them. No.
Yeah.
No.
No, just.
But I think I wouldn't use the word sacrifice, but within her mental health, her psychosis, she believed that she had to sacrifice her child, which is the extreme case, and it is about her mental health. But no, in most of the cases, killing their child that isn't the intention. That's not what they want to do. Yeah. Right. So this is just an excerpt from someone that I had interviewed, just to show you how it has an impact on siblings. I'll just quickly read it. So it says, I remember one time the church had this thing, okay, if your sister is possessed by a demon, this is what they said to my mom. If your daughter is possessed by a demon, then there is a likelihood that demon might come into the other children. So you have to bathe them in salt water. And one time, my mom invited the male pastor to bathe me, unclothed, in salt water, which I felt very, very uncomfortable with. It later turned out that this man was a pedophile in Ghana. And I just felt like, looking back on that, I was completely shocked, and psychologically, it is still difficult for me to cope with this. How much power my mom gave to these people in the hope that my sister would be healed. And because of that, when my sister was having an episode, which was a bipolar episode, she would go into hospital and be like, you don't need, this is the mom, you don't need to take the medication, and you don't need to take the medication. You just needed to pray. Now, it's not to cause offense to anyone who from Ghana or who attends a church, right? It's just this is what someone has said to me when I had interviewed them. Yeah, because this could happen, as I said, no one group has a monopoly on these belief systems. It exists all over the world. So you could be white, you could be black, you could be Christian, you could be any other religion. The belief system exists, and harm does happen as well. So the take-home message here is just always remember it's not only about the child that's being accused, it's about the impact on the siblings. Now, all of this, when we talk about witchcraft and spirit possession, it falls within the category of what is considered to be a harmful practice. So the practices that happen is a harmful practice. The UN has come up with not really a definition, but it's a criteria of what is considered to be a harmful practice. So this is the definition here. So when we're talking about harmful practices, I use definition, criteria. There's a document like 6 pages that you can go and read on the UN website that helps you to understand harmful practices and break it down. So we're talking about, these are practices where we're talking about persistent practices. So they're happening over a period of time. It's grounded in discrimination. So remember the definition that we did of discrimination on the basis of gender, age, and sex, and also other grounds as well. And there are multiple intersecting factors when we're thinking about the different forms of discrimination that they experience. It often involves violence, and it can cause physical and psychological harm. So when we're talking about the witchcraft and the spirit possession, you can already see when we look at the definition of spiritual abuse, the coercive control, the psychological harm, the physical abuse that actually happens within it. Now, just quickly moving on, there are hundreds of different types of harmful practices that exist. These are just some examples here. So when we're talking about FGM or force feeding or child marriage or early marriage, but also witchcraft, ritual attacks, and beliefs around spirit possession is considered to be a harmful practice. Right, let me just whisk through this. There are a number of UN conventions that exist that offers the right for individuals, whether it is an adult and a child, to be protected. The first one, CEDAW, that specifically looks at around violence against women and girls. But the main one I want us to think about is the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. So it does cover adults, it does cover all of these conventions, but the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child specifically focus on children. Okay, am I speaking a foreign language here, or are you aware of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child? Yes? Yeah. Okay, good. All right, Charlotte, why are you smiling?
Sorry, we
Yeah?
did the legislation module, etc.
Okay.
Part of our assignments.
All right, good. Okay, so there are a number of articles that that ensures that children have the right to be protected from harm. They have a voice to be heard. They have a right to health and education. So when we're looking at all of these rights, it does apply to when we say that a child needs to be protected from accusation of witchcraft and spirit possession, because it's a right that they have. Okay, I won't go into details in it because of time. But in 2021, the UN signed a resolution, so Resolution 47.8, specifically looking at witchcraft and spirit possession and ritual attacks. And according to the resolution, it places a duty on governments, on countries, on member states of the UN to ensure that they protect the rights and ensure that people who are accused of witchcraft, spirit possession, or ritual attacks are actually safeguarded and protected. So when you read it, it says that member states must do certain things to ensure that whether it is prevention, protection, providing support for people who are accused of witchcraft, spirit possession, or ritual attacks. There's no specific law here in the UK. There's about 11 countries where there's witchcraft laws, but here in the UK there's no specific law. So it's about the act that has happened. So whether it is actual bodily harm, murder, or common assault, for example, or grievous bodily harm. But we do know that, generally when we're thinking about it, it is a child protection concern. It should be referred to Children's Services. We do have the Children's Act 1989, 2004, like for border control, there is guidance for them, which is under Section 55 of the Borders, Citizenship and Immigration Act as well. Right. Now, I asked a question before about, is this considered to be child abuse? And sometimes it's a really difficult thing for people to understand when we think about religious or cultural practices that happen, and is it considered to be child abuse? And part of the reason why is because it's very much influential. The concept of abuse or even child abuse is very influenced by our religion, by our culture and our religious beliefs. When we think about corporal punishment, for example, was that considered like a parent hitting their child? Is that considered to be child abuse? Or is it something that's culturally accepted, that this is the way that how we should be parenting our children?
In England, it's not. You can say punish a child, but you don't have to leave a mark.
Okay. I don't think, okay. So, no, it doesn't matter if you leave a mark or not. It's not about leaving a mark.
It's an abuse.
Sorry?
It's an abuse. Hitting each other. It's an abuse.
You think it's an abuse?
It's about abuse.
Because, and we can't spend much time on this, Benjamin, but, if someone was supposed to hit you and hit, let's say, someone that's white, with the same level of force, because of your complexion of skin, it wouldn't leave a mark. It may not leave a mark. Yeah. So you can't use the mark as a distinguishing factor.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think there's a legislation. I'll find it out.
Okay. No, but there isn't a legislation that says, or any guidance that says it's about leaving a mark.
Yeah, there's nothing
Yeah?
about that.
But the main message I'm really trying to send is that for some of us, we define child abuse according to our culture and our religious belief system. It does influence. It's a value. Some people will say it's a value judgment we're making about what is considered to be abusive and what isn't. All right? But we do have, obviously, child protection laws. We have guidance that helps us to influence us, to help us to understand what do we actually really mean by child abuse. And it's really important for us not to allow our own personal belief systems to help us to influence our thoughts and ideas about what is considered to be abusive or not, when there is guidance there that's supposed to direct us. Some things are not very much clear-cut, and that's where you need to discuss it. Yeah? So going back to your example, Chichi, what you said a bit earlier on, was that some people believe that, yes, that these things can happen. And people are allowed to practice their belief system. And if they want to take their child back home to get spiritual healing, or they want to do something themselves, they should be allowed to do it. And it's not considered to be child abuse. It's not considered to be harmful at all. When you're working in a system and in a society that says that no, that these things are considered to be harmful, and we will have to ensure that we do an assessment to determine, if has this child experienced significant harm, or is it a child in need case, and what support is actually really needed.
Like where I come from, Nigeria, the people side where I come from, because sometimes like the mothers that come from a Christian home, we follow the Bible very strictly. There's a portion of Bible that said you should bring a child up in a manner that tomorrow when he grows,
Yes.
will be useful to the family and to the society.
Yeah.
And part of our skill, which we applied for myself, during the time I was bringing my children up, I was using that reference in the Bible.
Yeah.
That you should teach them the way to go.
Yeah.
So that tomorrow they will be useful. And then what we do that time is by, eating.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Actually, I
said,
Yes.
then I would ask him or her at that time, so do you know why we're getting this beating?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe because I couldn't do that work well.
Yeah.
I haven't completed my homework. I said, next time, if you don't, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And then I will tell them, yes, I know I'm in England. Yes, I understand that. But go to school and report me. When you come back, you get it double.
Okay.
Oh my God, we need to take,
You think?
we need to call the police.
Then I said, me, your mother, I will get the police here and tell the police,
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you to do your job in future.
Yeah.
Because if
But
you don't instill this discipline, you'll be chasing them.
But I suppose that when you think about it, right, there are millions of people who don't do that and get the same outcome.
Yeah.
And all it does is that, I mean, every child, we're going off on a tangent here and I'm just conscious of time, but every child is different, right?
Yeah.
So my parents could have used the threat of hitting me and I would behave, but there's no way my brother would have, that would work my brother, because my brother was just, he was just like, rebellious, so.
I don't know why the English shouldn't follow what the
No,
Bible
but-
is saying by discipline children. When it's a smart
But-
child in this country.
No, but I suppose the point is that it's back again to the definition of this about how your culture influences you, right, or your religious belief. Disciplining a child doesn't necessarily mean hitting them.
Yeah.
Because there's enough research to show. I mean, there's an argument, but there's enough research to show that that corporal punishment and hitting children doesn't have the long-term effect that you want. If you can get someone to behave in a way to work with a child in a way that you don't resort to hitting them and you can still get the same outcome. I would like to think if I was a child, obviously I was a child, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. I would have wanted a different approach to happen. It's not about passing judgment, all right? But yeah, you get a message.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
There are different ways to skin a cat, basically.
Sorry?
There are different ways to skin a cat.
A black one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on quickly. Right. Okay, so I said before, normal. What is normal? When we thinking about children, or even an adult. So so these are just some things that people associate with. If the child isn't considered to be normal, what do I then need to do to ensure to make sense of the misfortune that I'm experiencing? So let's say that I have a child that suffers from epilepsy. All right, I'm now experiencing problems in my life. Can't get a job, can't pay the bills, poverty. Why is this happening to me? I'm trying to understand this, but then I have a child that has epilepsy. So that means that epilepsy is associated with something that's not good. And it's just not because it's a physical ailment. Spiritually, when you see a child or an adult fall in the ground, foaming from the mouth, having an epileptic attack, people interpret that as being possessed by a demon or an evil spirit. Now, then, that's the reason why I'm experiencing the misfortune that I'm having in my life. So then I need to do something to that child or that adult who's close to me, because there's always, these things are very much intimate. It's people who are close to you who will want to cause you the most harm. And then I need to do something spiritual about that child. Yes, I may get them medication, but it's a spiritual attack. So when you think about it, about the behaviors that you can see, or an illness, or the character traits, why is that person, why is my sister greedy? She isn't sharing the family wealth with me. She has a good job. She's not supporting the family. That means that she's not a good person. She's probably evil. Yep. So just think about misfortune that someone experienced, identifying someone who's causing misfortune, and then I need to do something about it. Right. So then what if I need to do something about it? I need to, what I say is that people employ safety behavior. So there are a number of things that I need to do to protect myself or to get rid of the evil that's happening in my life. And safety behaviors could fall into many different categories, many different things. So people talk about, yes, you could consult a faith leader. You can wear something to protect you from the evil. So anyone ever heard of evil eye? Yeah, or nasal. So you're trying to protect yourself because, what evil eye is, it doesn't result in death, but I can see you wearing something really nice and I comment on your scarf, and then you walk down there and it just gets gripped. So that means that the idea is that I have said something, I have evil, I have the ability to bring a bit of misfortune to your life, or I comment that your baby is beautiful and then your baby falls sick. All right, so that means that, I'm connected with something that's not positive at all. So to get rid of these things, I may pray, I may fast, I may wear something to protect me. I can, if I believe that the person has caused me harm, physically restrain them, beat them, cut them, do all these things. But the main question to ask yourself with the safety behavior. So you're interviewing someone, you're working with a family, they say that these things are happening, and they say to you, ask them, so what are you doing to support yourself or protect yourself from it? And they say to you, well, I'm praying. And generally we accept and we say, okay, all right, praying. We just leave it like that. But the question then is the frequency, the duration, who has to pray, what type of prayer it is. So you have to delve a bit deeper to ask them these things. So for example, what witchcraft, if you believe, let's say a child or adult is a witch, the belief is that the evil is much more prevalent in the dead of the night. So when we talk about 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, if you believe that that's the point in time where the evil is much more stronger, and you believe that this child or this adult is a witch, you're not going to want them to sleep, because as in their sleep, they go into the spiritual realm. So you will keep them awake. And that's the type of time of the night that you need to even pray even more, to be more fervent in your prayer. So what then happened? The child will go to school unable to sleep. Let's say if the parent, sleep deprivation, they're unable, how does that affect their parenting capacity? An adult, how does it affect their ability when they go to work? Because they're sleep deprived. So it's always go a bit deeper and ask that question. So with fasting, we know with Victoria Kalembe, her aunt said that her pastor told her that she needed to fast. Then she made Victoria fast as well, so she wasn't feeding her. All right. So always remember, go a bit deeper, frequency, duration, who has to do it, who's advising you to do it, what exactly it is that you have to do. But if fasting is about, remember, it's about food as well, it's about withholding food. What types of food are considered to be holy food culturally or religiously that you either have to eat and you have to give that person. Good? Now, with safety behavior, you don't physically have to go anywhere anymore. There are a number of websites that you can go to, and it will self-diagnose you. It will tell you what you have to do, but it also will tell you if you need to be consulted by someone, they will put you in contact with someone, and you will have to pay for that advice. And you could pay by PayPal, and then that person will call you, or they will send you further instructions of what to do. So always remember social media, the physical world, but also the internet and what's out there as part of the questioning that you need to ask people. Right, so just breaking it down, remember with these things, there are individual variations. So there's some things that generally that people do, but I could come up with my own concoction and my ideas of what are the steps that I need to take. So you always ask your question, who has to perform them and for how long? Who's providing the advice? So as I said, it could be over the internet, someone that you've never met before instructing you. How much does it cost? There's a price to pay. Some people have to pay extortionate prices for these things. Is there an international dimension? So some people will remove themselves, take them overseas, go overseas to get help, because you go back home where you believe that people there are much more adept and skilled, or you take the child overseas, or someone comes here in the UK. When I was doing my research, I went to 2 events, one in Tower Hamlets and one in Luton, where they brought over a religious leader, and I actually got the opportunity to sit down with him, and people were consulting him, and he was given the advice. I'll just leave it there. So think about the international dimension. What will happen if it doesn't work? So sometimes if it doesn't work, people up the ante and they do something even more extreme as well. And how undesirable is the outcome for that child or the adult? by the safety behavior they're implementing. Right. How am I going for time? 4 more minutes? Right. 4 minutes. What can I do in 4 minutes? Something. Yeah, something. All right. Just thinking about, as I said, I always started off that this issue it's very trauma-inducing. It's really important for you when you interact with whoever it is that you're interviewing, that because the trauma they experience is like internal, or someone else has to come to your room, but also that how the body language that you're seeing externally. All right, so think about the body language. Think about them being hyper-vigilant and hyper-alert. Think about the environment where you're going to interview them. Think about the language that you use. They might be feeling anxious. You might be feeling anxious as well. If you do have the same belief system and you think it's going to affect you, speak to your manager about it. Just don't keep it to yourself. I mean, I've had social workers have said to me, they will go home and, take off the clothes, because you go in people's home, right? Take off the clothes or throw it away because they actually believe that this person is evil. And it would affect them spiritually. So they get rid of the clothing. So going back to that original question, do you believe that clothing could bring you good luck? People believe that clothing could bring you bad luck as well. So inanimate objects, a pen. Some people would say you don't accept pens from your classmate or from your friend because people can put things in inanimate objects, evil spirit that can affect you. All right? Right. I don't think we have time for a case study. But I had a number of case studies here. But just
share it. Well,
yeah.
We'll share it.
So I'll just wrap up, but just think about some points to consider. Think about the backstory, and the best backstory is the misfortune that people are experiencing, because it is the misfortune that triggers the belief system. Think about the safety behavior that they're going to employ. Who's reinforcing the safety behavior? Think about Victoria Kalimbe. It was a pastor the great aunt went to. That said that she wasn't doing it right after fasting, and so it was reinforcing behavior. Think about physical health. Health is a consistent narrative. People experiencing health problems. It's a crime of the community, so it's not only the immediate family, it's the community as well that can play a part, either directly or indirectly, in causing the harm. So when you're asking that questions, focus much more on an eco map, or everyone that they're connected to. Not only here in the UK, but overseas as well. And think about the last point. I will skip that one. When we think about recognition and misrecognition, and that goes back to siblings. So the child who's accused or the adult is the one who we normally focus on, and we misrecognize the other groups, so the other siblings in the family. All right. So just be mindful of that. I will end here and take any 1 minute final questions. Do you have someone to come into your Zoom?
Yeah.
So whilst sorry.